I can remember when I was a little boy, my mother telling me a story, and she was trying to just tell me how things really worked in the United States of America behind the scenes. She told me, she said, okay, tell you what, go over there and pick the telephone up and start calling people and telling them that you advocate the overthrow of the United States government. She said, it won't be long before you invite a lot of unwanted attention to this family. In other words, you can speak your mind. We have a constitution that says you can speak your mind, but you really are limited in what you can say. And we may, in the next few days, when all of this election fraud comes to an end, be told that we better shut our mouths and take our medicine or else. 7 minutes after 8 o'clock. Bill Colley with you this morning on Top Story. I want to thank Mr. Big Voice for his introduction, but just in case you weren't sure. 32 right now, and we're on our way perhaps towards 60, low 60s today, going to be in the mid 60s the next couple of days. So you have no excuse. If you didn't get in on early voting, you have no excuse for not going out and actually voting tomorrow. That's the way I look at that. Unless, of course, you're holding your nose to the point you can't breathe any longer, you collapse and you don't make it there. I have three things that I wanted to bring up today, and there are a lot of unrelated things, too, that prove my point on this. If you go to our website, newsradio1310.com, you'll see that I have a post up there this morning that says that the Clinton crime family is engaging in a coup d'etat. In other words, what's going on right now is an effort, and of course in collusion with mainstream media, to take away this election from Donald Trump because it was getting too close for their comfort. So a whole number of things have happened in the course of just the last few days that make us raise our eyebrows and realize the fix is in. Let me give you a few of them. This is from the Wall Street Journal editorial today. The political Mr. Comey. If you were perhaps, I don't know, away on Mars over the weekend, you may have missed this, but he sent a letter to Congress and said that they found nothing again in the latest Clinton emails that would warrant her prosecution or the continuation of the investigation. Now, this doesn't mean, and media isn't telling you this, it doesn't mean that the investigation of the Clinton Foundation, that's come to an end. That goes on. But the writer says it looks like our contributor, former Attorney General Michael Mukasey, was right last week. FBI Director James Comey's review of newly discovered Hillary Clinton-related emails was never going to change his legal judgment because the FBI and Justice Department handling of the case was never serious in the first place. The Justice Department never went to a grand jury in the case, which was needed to gather all appropriate evidence and vet the legal charges. Judge Mukasey's judgment was vindicated on Sunday when Comey sent a letter to Congress saying that the FBI had reviewed the emails and, quote, we have not changed our conclusion that we expressed in July with respect to Secretary Clinton, unquote. Now, I mentioned on Facebook last night before I went to bed, there were 650,000 emails in this latest trove on Anthony Weiner's computer. It took 6 months for the FBI to look at 50,000 other emails and then conclude last summer there's nothing to see here, even though it was mentioned that her handling of emails was extremely careless, especially when it came to classified information, such as the latest from WikiLeaks, that her maid was told to print the classified information up that she was looking at on her homebrew server. Yeah, the maid. I kid you not. And she says Donald Trump would be dangerous with the nuclear football. Okay, understood. So Mark Tapscott, who works for the Daily Caller, used to be the Washington Examiner, good guy out of Kansas originally. And those are great, great people. He commented on my post on Facebook. He said, oh, come on, Bill. He said it was only 81,000 a day. In other words, they roared through 600, and it wasn't even, it was an 8-day stretch, but it wasn't even 8 days because they had to get a warrant, a subpoena to go look at some of those emails. So they likely had 4 or 5 days, and they claim they've reviewed 650,000 emails, and there's nothing to see here. How about this from the Daily Caller today? Virginia governor pardons 60,000 felons, enough to swing election. In other words, these are people who are going to be voting for Democrats, obviously. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe has granted voting rights to as many as 60,000 convicted felons just in time for them to register to vote, nearly 5 times more than previously reported and enough to win the state for his longtime friend, Hillary Clinton. McAuliffe sought to allow all of Virginia's estimated 200,000 felons to vote, but state courts said each individual felon's circumstances must be weighed. To get around that, McAuliffe used a mechanical autopen to rapidly sign thousands of letters as if he had personally reviewed them, even as his office was saying the total was only 13,000. So there you go again. Remember the liberals screaming in 2000? Well, of course they're going to get what they want out of Florida. Yeah, George W. Bush's brother is the governor there. This is like the third world going on, and they're staging a coup down there in Florida. Well, McAuliffe is just as much a brother to the Clintons as Clinton's criminal brother Roger is. And what he's done is he's delivered his state even before Election Day to Hillary Clinton. Because even though they supposedly had a lead there, they were starting to worry about the potential outcome. So, Comey, somebody put down the hammer, and he said, all right, there's nothing to see here. Number two, McAuliffe has gone out and ensured that he's just found a whole group of new voters to go out and put his friend in the Oval Office. Remember, it was McAuliffe who was giving, what was it, a total of, between all of his organizations and associations, the number two man at the FBI, Comey's main assistant. That fellow's wife was running for U.S. Senate in a primary, and McAuliffe ensured that she got nearly $700,000, folks. Yeah, I kid you not, nearly $700,000 in campaign contributions through him. Do you think that may have had an impact on the election or on the investigation, rather? And yet they still, in the liberal circles, complain about Florida 16 years ago. This is far more obvious. It is far more worse. It is just pernicious what's going on. And then I have this from the Daily Signal. What's causing the surge of illegal immigration? Legislators in Washington would like answers. And this is from a quote from a letter that was sent by these guys. Numerous media reports indicate that this surge is a large-scale effort to enter the United States before this year's presidential election. The onslaught of illegal immigration reflects continued efforts by aliens from Central America, El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala to overwhelm our limited resources at the border, which inevitably results in the release of tens of thousands of removable aliens within the United States. Now, the letter also states that thousands of Haitians and Africans are gathering in two Mexican cities, Tijuana and Mexicali, and asserting dubious claims of asylum, which will practically guarantee their entry. And more Democrats is what that is going to mean, and more people competing for your jobs. I saw a stat the other day. This is going to cost us $1.5 trillion to take care of all these people. By February, officially, the federal debt, national debt, will be in excess of $20 trillion. Just something to note as we head past Election Day and then Inauguration Day, and shortly thereafter, that clock ticks up and hits that landmark. There is a story in Vox, which is a very liberal publication, and Vox is complaining that in Nevada, neighboring Nevada, where early voting came to an end over the weekend, that lines that were blocks and blocks and blocks long of Latino voters weren't able to complete their ballots because the doors closed and now they have to wait until Election Day. We're hearing similar stories. Morning Joe over at MSDNC this morning rambled on about all of the high turnout among Latino voters in certain states in the South. All right, they're complaining that they're not all getting a chance to vote, but who are these people, and are they citizens of the United States? Because two sources, one of them is LifeSet, the other one may have been the Washington Examiner over the weekend, said that President Obama, in a speech a few days ago, pretty much with a wink-wink and a nod, said to illegal aliens, go ahead and vote. There won't be anybody to prosecute you. So they've been given carte blanche to go out and determine our election so that they can get more free stuff from you, the American taxpayer, so that the Democrats can walk away with this election. Is the fix in? Comey. And then you've got, of course, what's going on in Virginia. Now you've got illegal aliens voting in droves. You tell me what the hell is going on in this country and how are we going to stop it? Because Donald Trump is spot on when he says this thing is rigged, it is fixed, it has been signed, sealed, delivered, gift wrapped, and a bow tied around it for Hillary Clinton. And the media has stood by and pretended they don't see any of this, or they're okay with it. Coming up on 8:17, Bill Colley with you on Top Story this morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. 34. On our way, as I mentioned earlier, perhaps into the lower 60s today and into the mid-60s the next couple of days, and should be plenty of sunshine to deal with. I don't know for the life of me if I've ever seen anything like this in this country before. I mean, this is a complete breakdown. This is Banana Republic. This is third world stuff. And if indeed there is a revolt in the streets come Wednesday, I'm not going to be blaming people who are doing it. The fact of the matter is, we are witness to the theft of an election, and we've got to do something about it. We've got a caller with us. Caller, you're up next, and you're on KLIX.
Yeah, don't forget, Bill, that there was also a federal agent and his wife killed, supposedly in a murder-suicide.
I saw that. That came out of a publication called the Denver Gazette, which turns out that they don't even have, they have a phony address on the website. So you can't, trying to tie that to Hillary Clinton, that's not going to work. We have to stay on the straight and narrow, and we have to cite reliable sources. I realize that the mainstream media isn't reliable as well, but just because we have a lack of trust in them doesn't mean we have to put our trust into some of these bogus online websites. You're next. You're on the air on KLIX. Go ahead.
Yes, Ed Rollins yesterday said that this Comey thing might backfire. Of course, we've heard this before. And you wake up hoping that something miraculous has happened for the American people. And then you find out, because I knew most of what you've been saying this morning, but maybe some of it I didn't know. But you've become so exasperated again. And just like I was talking to one of your sponsors, I went in there and did business this morning at Ramsey's. I was talking to Rita, and she just kind of said, well, we're just basically screwed. And you see, when they want us to give up, go back, keep our mouths shut, don't do a damn thing, be glad you got what you got, be glad we don't come and take what you got left. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you much for the call. Well, I don't believe, and I see the country splitting off into different zones. There'll be the red zone, and then there'll be the blue zone. And I really don't think that the blue folks have any plans to mess with us. And they'll, for instance, let us in the Intermountain West eventually go our own way. Then they'll come back in 10 years and beg us to bail them out because they can't manage their own affairs. And by that point, they'll have taken all of their firearms away from each other, and, well, we'll be able to call the shots. Bill Colley with you this morning. I've got more on this subject in just a few minutes on News Radio 1310, newsradio1310.com. Randy Staples will be joining us in a few minutes from Idaho Weekly Briefing, and he's got a lot of election news to talk about. The liberals and the folks in media, that may be redundant. They believe that there's a huge contest going on in northern Idaho where Heather Scott, they claim, is really being pressed by. Well, she's not getting a lot of support from the Republican establishment. Read RINO. But I think it's wishful thinking on the part of, you can read more about that in my column tomorrow in the Magic Valley Times News, wishful thinking on their part. Also, though, he mentions hot races in my home district, which is District 24, between State Senator Lee Hyder and Deb Silver, who's the chairwoman of the Democrat Party here in Twin Falls County, as well as the race Representative Hartgen versus Catherine Talkington. But I've been privy to two sets of polls on that, and I don't know which one I trust more. One shows a close race in the 24th, and the other shows no contest, with the Republicans walking away with that. I will point this out. There are a lot of new people in the 24th with all of the new housing developments out there along the canyon rim. And because of that, you could see, wherever they're from, could have an influence on this. If there are a bunch of Californians who want to be able to grow hemp in their backyard, make rope and their clothes out of it, and drive Volvos and smoke whatever's left, they may well vote for the Democrats. And if they're stoned, who knows? A lot of other people may do the same thing. Hey, just a quick reminder, if you're listening to this program, I thank you to the bottom of my heart for doing that. But if you're having difficulty hearing, we need to get that straightened out because it's critical for anyone with a radio in their home. Dr. Christine Pickup is a doctor of audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology in Rupert, and she reminds you that we have this beautiful time of year and the leaves crunching under our feet and holidays coming soon. And those get-togethers, though, if you can't hear them, it's going to be disappointing for you. You need to call Mount Harrison Audiology today to find solutions to hearing loss and be ready, she says, to enjoy all of the fun of family gatherings and special moments. She also says those special moments with loved ones are what we really cherish. Schedule your hearing health checkup. The number 312-0957. Life is worth hearing, she reminds you. The number once more, 312-0957. You're up next. You're on the air with Bill Colley on KLIX and Top Story. Go ahead.
Well, this election very well could spell the end of our republic. This is the plum that the socialists have been trying to pick off, and with 8 years of Obama and likely another 8 years with Hillary. In fact, I doubt whether we'll ever have another Republican ever even be a president. And of course, Congress, as long as they just rubber stamp everything that Hillary might do. But maybe there will be a surprise tomorrow. But for almost 100 years, the socialists have been working hard to create a third world country out of the United States. And we know that with the formation of the United Nations, it has been pro-communist, pro-socialist. It's been very anti-American since its inception. And now all these programs that have come down through the UN, right through our State Department. Hillary's just going to accelerate all of that. And it's going to be interesting to see how God responds to all of this if we elect unrighteous people to public office, especially at the national level, even at the local level. We shall see that God will not be mocked, and we're going to suffer the same fate that ancient Israelites have seen, and the storms and things that are going to come down on this country. I think we may not be prepared for it. So, people, we need to get out and vote. Get hold of your friends. This may be our last chance to save the vestige of our great constitutional republic, because our Constitution will be gone if Hillary gets in there.
And I got to add to that, there's a comment somebody put on my Facebook page, or posted on my Facebook page today from George Orwell that says, if you go out and you vote for decrepit, inept people, then you're going to get decrepit, inept government. It's not an exact quote. I'm paraphrasing there, but that's what we're dealing with now. We have another caller with us. Caller, you're up next. You're on KLIX. I've got about a minute before the break. Go ahead.
It's over, fat boy. We're winning. Shut up.
How many votes did you cast yet? Of course. And he invited all of his cousins from Juarez, and they're all voting half a dozen times. There you go. Well, we'll see how much they actually win, because nobody's counted the votes yet. I'm going to squeeze one last caller in about 40 seconds. Go ahead. You're up next.
Yes, good morning. I hear a lot of dejection out there. Now is not the time to lay down and do woe is me. Now is the time to get up and fight. Call your neighbors, call your friends, call everyone you can think of tonight. Call those people in the LDS community who may not have the proclivity to vote for Trump, but just need to understand that letting that person get into the White House is going to destroy this nation if we haven't already destroyed it by what we've previously let in there.
Well, and let me add to that, because dejection or not, I don't feel that has any impact on this. If you're going to vote, you're going to go out and do it. If you're a laggard, you're not. But if you do have to call people and motivate them, call them in the blue states. Because here in Idaho, we don't have to worry about all of this. The problem is that California, Oregon, Washington, the Great Lakes, and parts of the East Coast, they're all on the dole, and they want more of your money. Thank you for the call. Matty Staples will join us in about 15 minutes from Idaho Weekly Briefing. And he's got a lot to talk about come tomorrow, about tomorrow. That's ahead in just a few minutes. Bill Colley with you as well at 8:30. Right now it's 34. On our way to a lot of sunshine today and highs in the low 60s. I have an email, and it made me chuckle, but I don't know that I should be laughing at it. Somebody making reference to some of the people who are getting what you'd call farm subsidies. I was on the boat tour out at Thousand Springs, and I remember somebody telling us on the boat that a lot of the big fancy homes on the river were built with that farm subsidy money. Maybe this is what the writer is referring to. It comes from Michael. He says, because all farmers are paid to not produce, are they voting for Clinton? He says, oh, well, go to Winco, eat another donut, and bash all the Mexicans. And then he says, the workers that produce so the farmer can collect a government check to not produce, on Sunday go to church and pray for crop failure. Not very coherent, but obviously coming in from perhaps a liberal. I don't know, which would explain the incoherence, I suppose. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Coming up on 8:35, and it's 35, just a quick reminder, we're talking post-election come Wednesday morning here on the program for a good couple of hours. You got to realize, if Hillary Clinton wins, from a talk radio host perspective, because then we're going to have years of investigations and eventually impeachment and her conviction and then her orange jumpsuit. She's the gift that keeps on giving for talk radio. And Rush Limbaugh's best days, for instance, have been in opposition, not when he's had a Republican president in the White House. Does that mean I'm hoping for Hillary Clinton? No, I love my country more than my job. But just sharing that with all of you. Wednesday morning, our only respite from all of this. Maybe we'll talk about how you recover from an election night hangover. The good folks from Tripp Family Medicine will be joining us in studio between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. And I wanted to mention they'll be here and perhaps answering your telephone calls, too, about any medical issues that you may have that come up. Tripp Family Medicine still looking for new patients. The office is located on Fillmore Street, directly across from the main post office in Twin Falls. And they can often see you on the very same day if you have a medical issue that crops up. So that's between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine, Wednesday morning. And remember, life's too short not to feel good. A couple of other things I wanted to mention during the course of the program. Did you see President Obama's family in Kenya are angry with his half-brother, is it Malik? Because Malik is backing Donald Trump. So they convened a family council, I kid you not, and they pronounced a curse on him because apparently he's breaking with family tradition in not supporting a fellow traveler. And I just wondered, how did all of that happen to work out? Yeah, that was it. Malik woke up this morning and he's 3 feet shorter than he was yesterday. That's how that happened to work with all of that. These people, I mean, are they... If this is what Mr. Obama's people are all about and what he comes from, no wonder he thought Obamacare was going to work. Bill Colley with you this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Some of the issues that voters should consider before they go to the polls tomorrow. Here's one that I'll share with you, speaking of Obamacare. This one just floored me when I saw it, but a woman that I happen to know posted today on Facebook. Let me just check this out. She said, we just got our insurance renewal as a family. We are now paying $1,827.48 per month. For you liberals out there, that's nearly $2,000 a month. With a $4,000 deductible and $40 copays for doctor visits, plus $30 for generic prescriptions. Yeah, I don't know that your life is going to get any better under President Clinton. I really think that this is the disaster that I guess we've been waiting for. We have to hit rock bottom before we can recover. Speaking of Hillary Clinton, she will never be confused with Cicero when it comes to her speaking ability. But yesterday she was trying to say that she is going to be the president of all Americans. Unless, of course, you're a coal miner or a white guy over the age of 30 or a white woman over the age of 50 or, well, you know, just about everybody else out there who's not going to actually vote for her. That was her. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I want to be the president for all Americans, those who vote for me and those who do not vote for me.
Ooh,
because
profound.
we have to heal this country, and that's going to take everyone.
Hi,
it is unusual for somebody running for president to say that what we need more of in our country is love and kindness, but we really do. We
Oh,
have to begin listening to one another and respecting one another.
wow. And I was sitting there wondering, where have I heard all of that before? Ah, yeah, she's dreaming of the old days when she and Bill were young and they were sitting around the commune and toking on the peace pipe. And they just knew that everybody was going to be loving each other. In fact, he was loving all the other women in that very same commune. Did you see where their daughter, she was living off Clinton Family Foundation gifts for 10 years and it paid for her wedding? Hello? And you lefties out there, you're comfortable with all of this? What's wrong with you people? I mean, have you had a complete break with reality? Have you seen what's in the latest WikiLeaks dump? I mean, this is just incredible. Here, let me just give you a quick rundown on these before the break. Tell you what, I'm going to have to take the break. We'll talk about this in the 9 o'clock hour. Randy Staples will be joining us shortly from Idaho Weekly Briefing with some of what he's picking up about tomorrow's election contest across the state of Idaho. That's on the way. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX at newsradio1310.com. It's 35 at 840.